Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the next session within our operational agility stream. Actually, when I look back at last year, when we were doing the same conference in 2020, we were hoping the next time we would come together, it would be more a face-to-face type of normal gathering. However, that turned out to be wishful thinking. Nevertheless, I think as of today, we can be quite hopeful and sure that next time we meet, we will be having a cup of coffee together. My name is Tomek Bugajski. I'm the Managing Director for EMEA region at eBaoTech. And with eBaoTech, we are serving the industry of insurance across the globe with more than 200 clients in more than 30 countries. Personally, I've been working in the insurance space for 26 years. Prior to joining eBaoTech, I spent several years at the European-based global insurance company, and before that within management consultants. Today, I would like to talk to you about a very important subject, something that we've heard so far already quite a lot, but I would like to put it in a bit of a different perspective. I would like to talk about different ways of embracing the actual transformation path and also share with you some lessons and experience from those different projects. Before we dive into those different paths, let's just quickly revisit what we think, how we think the future of insurance will play out for us. Definitely, insurance will be not anymore a standalone offering. It will be embedded, injected in other goods and services around travel, health, daily chores, hobbies that we have. And that actually in itself gives us quite huge potential and attractive potential. Why? Insurance is changing from sort of blanket type of coverage for predefined period of time to more of a, I only want it when I need it, where I need it, and for as long as I need it. So the usage based. And that in itself creates a different dimension for insurance where it becomes more and more transactional. So it's no longer process inward oriented, it's actually transactions. This is how we interact with our clients on a more frequent basis. And this is actually good because the more we interact with the client, the chances are that the client will be happy with us, and then of course will spend a bit more money with us. And those clients are actually all about and after convenience and not necessarily price only. So that also, if we address that properly, if we give them convenience that they expect from us, like they are dealing with Amazon, Googles, and others of this world, we can charge a little bit of a higher price and tilt the balance away from the comparison-driven aggregator type of business. So that's the future of insurance. What does technology have to offer us to actually tackle that and implement that? Well, let's just focus on the last 4 or 5 years where we've been seeing the key elements within technology: cloud nativity, microservices, API economy, big data, AI, DevOps. We all know these buzzwords, and we'll try to look into them in detail and see how they can effectively help us in our transformational journey. Now, we also know that we have to address a new set of challenges. So there is the massive volumes, massive variation, massive velocity of transactions and data that's hitting us from the business and system point of view as well. Now, so we have these technologies, new technologies, we just need to apply them smartly and properly. What we have been observing is that the contemporary core systems are typically engineered in a sort of monolithic way. So they combine end-to-end functionalities both horizontally across the policy or claim lifecycle, as well as vertically from back to front office. And such architecture is not really geared up to handle the rapid expansion of digital insurance or connected insurance. Those systems are robust, but slow. They have been designed for enterprise rather than speed and connectivity and convenience, which will be key going forward. So whether the rate of adding and changing the products or the cost of making those changes or ability to connect ourselves and scale to support all the various new business models and external parties, mobile apps, etc. All this needs to happen very fast. It's changing very fast. And it creates a lot of technology complexity that core systems and back office systems simply don't handle very well. So let's look at the way how to actually do it a different way. And we have been seeing more and more of our clients actually embracing the middle office architecture patterns to relieve that tension between the front office and the back office. So the front office layer that we see here is actually the client engagement layer. The middle office is the layer where we can orchestrate those services, and we can leverage all of these good technologies that we talked about before. And the back office becomes more of a system of record and deals with mostly offline transactions. So we're now going to use that three-layer view to actually look at our different transformation paths. So path number one, what we call InsureTech or greenfield approach. So that could be a new layer, new kid on the block, disruptor, or let's say within an established carrier, there can be a new greenfield initiative, an innovation, a new line of business, new product, new distribution channel that's being launched. How does that play out in our three-layer view? Now let's look at the middle office layer first. So from the product point of view, that type of digital transformation focuses on relatively few and simple products, so travel, damage, home. Then in terms of the actual services, insurance services and transactions required for these products, they're also few and relatively simple. So quote, bind, issue, first notice of loss, there's sometimes some renewals, some cancellations, but not really a lot of complexity there. And what's really important here is that we also make use of a lot of other non-insurance services. So third-party APIs to enrich the risk data, give us a better insight into underwriting models, AI tools, blockchain, etc. I'll make talk about some specific cases later on. So we have the transactional part of our middle office. Now we also have the orchestration part, and this is really where the insurance services get combined with those other non-insurance services to create customer journeys, distribution journeys that we think will differentiate ourselves in the market. So here are just a few examples. There's of course a great leverage and use of automated risk data sourcing to improve underwriting and customer experience. Some of the clients are even accepting cryptocurrency as a payment method. Others are doing it in a bit more contextual way, the meshing up of the API. So they're, for example, suggesting additional theft coverage for motor insurance when a vehicle is actually entering a zone or parking within a zone with higher theft risk occurrence. Others have been implementing automated claim triggering by from real-time sources, like you may be sitting on an airplane which is delayed, and already you have a claim amount hitting your bank account because clients are sourcing the data from real-time flight time plan database and APIs. Or yet another example of blockchain where claim payout is actually defined within a smart contract, which is then triggered by some external event. And of course, your typical AI tools like chatbots, sort of object recognition, OCR, NLP type of things for pricing, damage assessment, etc. So that's the middle office layer view. Now, when we look at the front-end layer, engagement layer, the orchestration gets exposed and connected to own apps, own portals, or embedded into third-party apps and portals in the form of insurance as a service, IaaS. So we have the external front ends or apps, and we have also the type of internal front ends. So those are the apps that the staff, internal staff, are actually using to process some of the transactions. So those typically in our InsureTech greenfield approach, they are simple apps focusing on one and done end-to-end functionality. So the final layer here is the back office layer, and it's really only comprising of few and simple integration points. So there's, let's say, a border exchange, there's some accounting, general ledger system, there may be some data lake, data warehouse type of systems around. So that's really our first path, sort of easiest one, right? Now, let's look into some of the experience and lessons learned from here. It's really, because it seems to be so simple, it's really best to start with and warm up, and it gives us a very good starting point and immersion into the larger transformation program that you can start building out from here. Now, the minimal viable product focus is really important here. And I think insurtechs understand it, and more incumbents also understand it. But the good thing here is that we have technology already now available to us, so that when we build MVP, we can already build for scale from day one. So we don't have, what it means is we don't have to throw away MVP after 3 months because it's not scaling. If we use the architecture and the technologies we discussed before properly, you can actually scale out and build out the MVP into the future. Also, what's really important across all of the different transformation approaches, but I mentioned it here with the first one, is that we need to really pay much more attention to datafication and not just digitalization. So smart datafication means you're not just moving your code bind and issue process from offline to purely online experience. You're actually trying to define your product in a way that when you interact with your customer, you gather data, and that data allows you to improve your product, your interactions with that client in a continuous iterative way. And we'll have some examples later on to share with you how some of the clients have been doing that. All right, so path number 2, something we call two-speed architecture. And here, the focus of the transformation really shifts to addressing the existing complexities, ring-fencing existing assets while gearing up for the future. So this is really the most common path for many of our clients dealing with legacy issues. So you're no longer a startup, you don't run some innovation or incubation thing, you're trying to digitize your entire existing book of business. And it has been even championed and done successfully by some international carriers that implemented the two-speed architecture on, so we'll see in a second what it looks like, on top of their existing core systems across 4 and even more countries regionally. So it is applicable to small, medium, as well as large players. Now, how does it look? So starting with middle office layer, of course, we have many more end products than in our greenfield situation, and they are more complex. What it entails is, of course, that the corresponding services and transactions are also more complex. So we're looking into the full life cycle of policy and claim, reinsurance, etc. And of course, we still have the access and ability to work with non-insurance third-party APIs. So when we look at the orchestration of these transactions and APIs, this is actually, one of the reasons why we're doing that. It has to be done properly. So all of the elements of the DevOps that I didn't mention for path 1, but they are equally important there. We need to be able to manage your APIs. You need to be able to orchestrate them. You need to be able to extend them and build those services on the fly. So that's also part of our middle office layer. So what really makes the two-speed architecture unique is that you have the back office layer in which you actually operate your legacy as system of record. And of course, as we mentioned before, the middle office takes care of the real-time transactions and processes and does orchestration and connects to the top end, front end. And the back office layer would take care of those offline sort of non-real-time, non-mission critical in the client sense or distribution sense processes. So the back office is of course a bit thicker and the integration a bit more complex than in our first example. Finally, the engagement layer, the top layer, few changes here compared to first path. Of course, we're also integrating external front ends with traditional channels, not only with the new ones. So that's additional complexity here. And internal front ends, they're becoming a bit more complex because of course we have much more complex transactions to deal with internally. And typically we have large number of teams and staff grouped differently, like call center people, back office admin teams, and they also tend to use these apps in a more of an enterprise way, should I say. Let's look at the key learnings from the two-speed architecture type of projects. Number 1, we need to avoid overcomplicating the implementations and avoid falling back into monolithic patterns. So remember when we talked about the monolithic core systems, front end, back end, meshed up together, end to end, all lines of business. we need to really be careful not to repeat the same mistakes. And that has to do with the cultural change and also how we've been doing things in the past. So we need to really be careful about it. Now, the second point is we should stick to the future-proof landscape. So, it's the middle office part that should be growing and back office shrinking and not the other way around. So if you have a temptation to take some shortcuts and build something quickly, extend your back office because it's easier now, please don't do it. Do it in the middle office and the future will thank you for that. And it's not always possible to, of course, apply the two-speed architecture in cases when legacy technology, so database software, operating software is no longer supported. That's not really a viable option. But again, the two-speed architecture is the key, not the key, let's say, but this is the largest subset of all of the different transformations that we have been running with our clients globally. The third path to the digital transformation of the digital world is actually what we call here rebuild. And this is really heavy lifting with the main goal to actually build the entire landscape with the new technologies that we discussed before and do away completely with existing legacy. So let's look at how it plays out. Middle office layer, similar to in terms of the thickness and complexity to our two-tier architecture. But remember, here we are not keeping existing legacy. So we, by nature of that, our middle office will need, the scope will increase a bit. So it will be thicker than the two-tier architecture. So looking at the products first, it's still many and complex products with high variability. But what changes here, what we observed with our clients, is that the mentality moves away from your traditional insurance product thinking to more of a stock-keeping unit thinking. So the fast-moving consumer goods industry, where you have few your technical insurance products and a lot of variations around it with a lot of campaigns, plans, etc. To manage. So those are the SKUs here. Now, insurance services, there's many and complex of them. We are having things that previously were kept at the back office layer. So we're seeing also finance, complex reinsurance, batch processing, etc. We are doing away with legacy, as we said. So we have more of that complexity here. And of course, we still have access and an ability to reuse the existing solutions, APIs, and services from other vendors. Now, the orchestration is really important here. And of course, this is again the core of the middle office layer. So key here is that we are actually able to combine those insurance services with other services and do that in a proper DevOps way. The back office layer, as I mentioned, it's becoming thinner again compared to the two-speed architecture. We have no legacy core, we have the peripheral systems to integrate with. From the front-end point of view, I think external front-end apps pretty much the same as in our two-speed architecture. What changes a little bit is that internal front ends are different because we are building from scratch. We're actually leveraging the new technology. So the microservices, remember, they allow us to create applications only for the purpose that we need them to be. They don't have to be end-to-end monolithic. You can have a collection of apps, each serving a particular business scenario. So we've had clients who are building policy admin app for travel insurance and also another policy admin for motor insurance or for motor fleet, claim for motor, etc., claim for health. So you have a collection of apps instead of one sort of or two apps for internal purposes. And that aligns you much closer and better with your front-end apps and how you actually connect to your end clients and distribution systems. So that alignment is much better here. Now, the key lessons learned from that, don't try this at home. That's the first one. Really, it's a big thing. You need to have a proper budget, proper buy-in of the stakeholders and proper management to do that. It's better to build the necessary skills in-house rather than get the system integrators to do your DevOps and extension orchestrations. Keep that knowledge in-house because you want to be fast and agile in the future. That's why you're building it in the first place. Finally, follow a phased approach. So don't do a big bang, do the whatever it is, some apps, some lines of business, etc. Because the world changes fast, and as we said before, and even if you decide to stop somewhere on the way without being completely finished, you're still ahead of the game. You haven't built new legacy. You haven't implemented yet another core system, monolithic end to end. You just created certain application front to back for the particular purpose. And you can still combine that application with your existing landscape and take it with you into the future. Path number 4, ecosystem or marketplace. Here we're taking it really to the next level and building our own or ecosystem, or injecting sort of ourselves into an ecosystem, already existing ecosystem, in a horizontal way across multiple industries. So what does it really mean? I think product, pretty much the same as we've seen before. Transactions, not a big difference. Services and APIs. Here, the key is we're not only dealing with insurance-related services or other services which are supplementary to insurance. We are also able to actually build new non-insurance related services. So, for example, we can be adding gamification into the customer journey. We can be creating customer wallets, insurance or financial wallets. We can be getting into lifestyle management functionality. All of these new services you can actually extend, build on your middle office layer, and then you have them as well available to do the orchestration properly. And as you see, the orchestration is really the key, the core part of the ecosystem marketplace, where you see the very deep and broad combination and mashups of the insurance and non-insurance related APIs and services. So few examples how we've been seeing that playing out. For example, offering a bike insurance together with a bike lock. So the customer is buying getting a policy, and at the same time, he is getting a lock purchased from an affiliated e-commerce website. And that transaction is actually orchestrated in a seamless way. So as soon as he gets the email or PDF with the policy document, he also gets the transaction confirmation that his bike log is also on the way. So that's how you go beyond one industry and orchestrate across horizontally. Now, another example, car dealers and manufacturers creating mobility ecosystem, orchestrating customer journeys beyond just insurance, organizing assistance, hotel, alternative travel, triggering repair network management, all of that. Another example, large e-commerce players who start to provide embedded insurance to their existing clients, buying goods and services with insurance attached to them. Yet another example, commercial line insurers. So it's not only applicable to personal lines, also to commercial lines, leveraging real-time IoT data feeds to actually avoid under or over insuring inventory of their clients across large distributed number of warehouses. So you can see also the benefit to the client. It's not just paying the right premium based on usage sort of, but it's also making sure that when the claim needs to be filed, that you're actually properly insured and you're not underinsured, right? So all of these examples are actually quite key here. So let's just finish this. Back office layer, how it looks really depends on the starting situation. So I'm not going to go any deeper into it. It can be one of the previous three situations. From the front end engagement layer, a bit of a difference here. We tend to see more of those own mega apps or own platforms with cockpits, customers not just dealing with insurance part of the equation, so to speak, but also along with all of these other, whatever we said, mobility, health, etc. So one big cockpit or app, mega app, where we interact with the customer. Internal front ends, not really a big difference. Key learnings from here. Well, ecosystem marketplace is really the target state to which all other paths should lead. The word of wisdom here is pick your battles wisely, because you cannot create or be the leader in all ecosystems. It's okay to have one or maybe to even have none, but be able to nimbly and very agile way to inject yourself into other ecosystems. You don't always have to be leader. You can provide your services as a adapter into an existing ecosystem. Finally, it's hardest to implement, but has the highest potential for exponential growth and also staying relevant in front of our clients in the future. So really what we've been talking about today is several paths and examples on getting digital. And common area has always been the ability to orchestrate across insurance and non-insurance APIs. And this is possible for all paths and key elements of any digital transformation really. It is really about moving from a system-driven transformation approach to a platform-driven one. And truly the end game is that the digital transformation needs to ensure true business scalability and not just a technical scalability. And this requires ability to handle large volumes and variations of data and transactions that we've seen, and with high velocity. And that's exactly where the middle office way offers the most compelling benefits. Here, I would like to stop and thank you for your attention. And of course, I would like now open the floor for questions.